When you live long enough, you learn two kinds of people you should never underestimate: old farmers and quiet women. My wife, Emily, was both quiet and sharp. I always told her she had the patience of a saint and the instincts of a hawk. After 32 years of marriage, I learned to never argue with that woman's gut feeling. We retired to a quiet suburban neighborhood in northern Texas after I sold my small construction company. We wanted peace. After decades of grinding sun, perils, and long nights on job sites, I wanted mornings with coffee and sunsets on the porch. Emily wanted her garden, a small herb patch, and space to breathe. We picked a nice house on the edge of a development called Cedar Ridge Estates. The place looked like a brochure: manicured lawns, clean sidewalks, and neighbors who waved a little too perfectly. I didn't pay much mind to it at first. I figured, after years of hard work, we earned a bit of comfort. But what I didn't realize was that behind every freshly trimmed hedge in Cedar Ridge, there was a clipboard, a complaint, and someone watching from a window. The HOA ran this place like a military base. You couldn't park your truck facing the wrong direction. You couldn't have a garden flag unless it fit their approved color palette. They even fined me once because my grass was too native, whatever that meant. At first, I paid their silly fines and ignored their passive-aggressive letters. But Emily, she noticed things. "They've been watching you again," she said one evening, handing me a cold glass of lemonade. "Who?" "The woman across the street. The one with the white dog. She pretends to walk him, but she stops every time she's in front of our house." I laughed it off. Let her look. I'm not hiding anything. Emily didn't smile. She just narrowed her eyes. "It's not curiosity. It's control. That's what these people want. Control." Turns out she was right. Again. The breaking point came the day I built a small wooden pergola over the back patio. I'd built houses all my life. It took me a day, some spare wood, and a six-pack of beer. Looked good, too. But 3 days later, we got a letter taped to our door. "Unauthorized structure built without HOA approval. You are in violation of Code Section 4.17b. Remove or apply for approval within 7 days." I called the number listed and asked to speak to someone in charge. A nasal voice on the other end told me, "You can't just build whatever you want. We have standards to maintain." I built a pergola. I said, "Not a casino." They didn't like that. The fines started coming in weekly. $75, $150, $250. I ignored them all. Then came the night the cops showed up. It was a Thursday around 8:30. Emily and I had just finished dinner. The TV was on, some news about road closures, when there was a heavy knock at the door, sharp, authoritative, 3 times. "Open up." "Police!" a man's voice shouted. Emily froze mid-step. Her instincts kicked in faster than mine. "Turn off the lights," she whispered. I did. We peered out through the side window. 2 men stood outside. They wore dark uniforms, but something was off. Their badges were shiny but generic, their belts mismatched, and their cars, not police cruisers. Just black SUVs with flashing dash lights. Emily looked closer. "Those aren't cops." I frowned. "Maybe security?" "No," she said, calm but firm. "They're pretending." Then came another round of knocking. Louder. "Sir, this is the police. You need to come out right now." Emily stepped back, her voice low and icy. "Don't open it." I asked, "What do they want?" "They want to scare you," she said. "Stay behind me." Now, Emily doesn't look intimidating. She's 5 feet 4 inches, gray hair, and always smells like rosemary and lavender. But in her younger years, she worked as a deputy U.S. Marshal before she retired early after back injury. Most of the people in our town didn't know that. The HOA sure didn't. Emily disappeared into the hallway and came back with a small black leather badge case. She tucked it in her palm, walked to the door, and cracked it open just an inch. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice calm and steady. "Ma'am, we're conducting an investigation," said one of the men. His uniform didn't have a department name, just the word police in big letters. "We receive reports of illegal construction activity and possible zoning violations." Emily blinked slowly. "Illegal construction?" Yes, ma'am. We'll need to come in and look around. She tilted her head. Do you have a warrant? The man hesitated. We don't need one for this. That's when I knew something was off. No real cop says that. Emily's tone dropped a notch lower, the one I hadn't heard since her working days. If you're law enforcement, show me your identification. The taller man stiffened. Our badges are right here. He lifted the shiny circle on his chest. It looked like something you could order online for $40. Emily smiled slightly. Interesting, because I don't recall any local police department issuing that kind of badge. The man's voice rose. Ma'am, if you don't cooperate. Emily stepped forward, flipped open her badge, and spoke with a calm authority that could chill blood. Deputy United States Marshal. Identify yourselves, or this becomes a federal impersonation charge. I swear, I've never seen grown men turn that pale, that fast. They froze for a second, glanced at each other, then practically tripped over themselves backing down the steps. One muttered, "We'll be back," while the other jumped into the SUV and sped off. The whole thing was over in 30 seconds. Emily locked the door, took a slow breath, and turned to me. Told you, she said, they're not cops. We called the county sheriff's office immediately. The dispatcher confirmed no officers had been sent to our address. The sheriff himself came out later that night, took our statements, and said, "You've got impersonators around here. Could be someone in the HOA trying to intimidate you." And he was right. 2 days later, I got a notice from the HOA president, a man named Gary Holtz. He looked like he'd been born with a Bluetooth earpiece and a superiority complex. The letter accused me of harassing HOA representatives and obstructing community safety procedures. That's when it clicked. The fake cops were his idea. So I decided to dig. Over the years, I learned that the best revenge isn't loud. It's patient. Emily and I started keeping logs, copies of letters, even photos of the men at our door. She filed an official report through her old contacts in the Marshal Service, and within a week, federal investigators were looking into the incident. Meanwhile, I acted like nothing happened. I mowed my lawn, waved at neighbors, smiled at Gary when he drove by in his little golf cart. But Emily knew more. She contacted a friend who worked in local law enforcement records. Within days, she confirmed that neither of those officers existed in any department in the county. Then something unexpected happened. One night, around 9 p.m., Gary showed up at our house, all puffed up and red-faced. He started shouting from the driveway, "You've been spreading lies about the HOA. You're going to regret this." I walked out with a cup of coffee in my hand. "Evening, Gary. Want to explain why your people sent fake cops to my house?" He blinked. "What are you talking about?" Emily came out behind me, holding her phone. "I have their faces on camera, Gary. You sure you want to keep pretending?" He turned pale, just like the officers had. You can't prove anything." "Oh, I think we can," Emily said softly. "And the marshal's office will be interested to hear your name." Gary left without another word. 3 weeks later, the whole story broke wide open. Turns out Gary had hired 2 security consultants, ex-convict with fake badges, to enforce HOA compliance. He paid them under the table from HOA funds. When the feds came knocking, he folded in a heartbeat. The HOA was dissolved within 6 months. Several members resigned in disgrace, and Gary faced federal charges for impersonating law enforcement and misuse of community funds. As for us, well, peace finally returned to Cedar Ridge. The neighbors who once spied on us now waved sincerely. A few even apologized. Emily started her garden again, growing tomatoes, basil, and lavender by the fence. One afternoon, as we sat on the porch, she looked at me with a little grin. "You know," she said, "I didn't flash that badge in years. Felt good." I laughed. "You scared the hell out of those boys." She smiled. "Good. Maybe they'll think twice before pretending to be something they're not." I took her hand, calloused from gardening. "Strong as ever. You think we'll ever move again?" She shook her head. "No need. This time, the bullies ran first." Sometimes I think about those men, those uniforms, that night. I think about how close it came to real danger. Two scared people in their 60s facing armed imposters. But I also think about the lesson hidden in it all. Don't mistake quiet for weakness. Don't assume age means helplessness. My wife taught me that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it speaks softly, flashes a badge, and watches evil trip over its own lies. And every time I pass the front door where it all happened, I feel a strange peace. The kind that comes when truth wins quietly without violence. Just courage. Because courage, like Emily, doesn't shout. It just stands tall and waits for the fake ones to run.